Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechak. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim out here pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quanah Watt from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp, coming back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. Hey man, Esau being stripped of his rank, and this is ultimately dealing with, Prince Andrew, as you see right here, which is one of the royal family members over there in the UK. He's being stripped of his rank, right? Ultimately, he's being found out, right? And his rank is being taken from him. Really, he's saying that he's ultimately stepping down, but nonetheless, right, his rank is being taken from him, right? As we read, this is a Newsbreak app. It says Prince Andrew gives up his Duke of York title as Epstein allegations refuse to fade. And then, as we get into this article, you're going to see that it's been years that this guy has been brought up, in these Epstein files, and he's, repeatedly tried to deny them, but yet it's irrefutable, right? A lot of these Edomites, especially these higher ups, including, Donald Trump, right, as well as, other officials, Bill Clinton, right, the Clinton family just in general, right, a lot of these Edomites, man, they ultimately, are on, that list, right, that Epstein, list, which is why they're ultimately trying to keep that list from coming out, right, because it will reveal a lot, and I'm talking about a lot of these, government officials really around the world, right? Mainly a lot of these Edomites, right? These higher up Edomites, and this dude right here, as it says, Prince Andrew, right, is ultimately at the point where he has no choice but to step down, It says right here in the Associated Press, it says Prince Andrew said Friday he's giving up his royal title of the Duke of York and other honors after his friendship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein returned to the headlines. Right? It says Andrew, younger brother of King Charles III, which is who the current king is, right? Which he's not a fucking king, right? He's a fucking Edomite, man. He's the basest of men. He's the lowest of the low, But it says Andrew, young brother of King Charles III, said in a statement released by Buckingham Palace that the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family, right? Because they're trying to ultimately cover it up. They're trying to, ultimately cover their tracks, and they can't. Right? All the information is there that this dude, right, had and has, right? Because ultimately, he's deceased, right? Jeffrey Epstein is, deceased now. That this dude had a friendship, with this man, and he's on that list, And again, they can't cover it up even, anymore because there's so much evidence, But it says, with His Majesty's agreement, right, and this is his words, right, Prince Andrew's words, it says, with His Majesty's agreement, we feel I must go a step further. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honors which have been conferred upon me. Andrew said in his statement Friday, as I have said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me, which, these damn devils, they lie, man. These damn devils are fucking liars, right? This is why scriptures say, Sirach 12:10, never trust thine enemy, because all they do is lie, right? Let's grab this, and I got a few precepts just on this, man. This is Psalms 10:7, just hitting the point. It says, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So this damn devil is lying, right? Deceit, right? Deceit is ultimately lies, right? When you go and you look up that word deceit, right, it goes back to lie, right? Let's look it up real quick. It says what? Trickery, treachery, lying, right? Is deceit on the online etymology. It says trickery, treachery, lying, right? It says to ensnare, right? It says take in, beguile, cheat, act or practice of deceiving, right? False appearance, illusion, right? Is a quality of being false or misleading. And that's who these devils are, man. Right? So the fact that this dude is saying, hey, I vigorously deny, but yet why is it, that you have a friendship with a person like this? Why would you want to be a friends with somebody that ultimately has, it's it is 100% clear, undeniable that this man, Jeffrey Epstein, right, ultimately had an island, right? They call Jeffrey Epstein Island, right? The Epstein Island, right? Where he was ultimately taking children, and achroming them, right? Ultimately putting them in the state of the heightened scared, right? Of them being at a state, being scared, right? The highest state of being scared, and then ultimately would, kill them, and then, drink their BLOOD, called achroming, right? This is something that, again, has been in social media for years now, as the scriptures say, which we're going to grab it, that, matter of fact, we'll grab it right now. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3, right? It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except their coming and falling away first, right? And that man of sin be revealed and is under position. So we're in the time where this damn devil is being revealed at such a high rate. All this information that comes out, yeah, they could try to sit there and cover their tracks. They could try to sit there and deny these things, but there's so much evidence that's being brought out that it's like, man, the average person just like knows this, right? You ask these different people here on the streets about, the elites and Jeffrey Epstein and so on and so forth. Most of these people already know about this stuff, man. So it's like the average person knows that these damn devils are wicked, right? It's just something, that these people just talk about. They think it's just normal or, whatnot, right? They don't, they don't give it a second thought. But see, this right here, this is the will of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, right? That this man be revealed, and he can't deny it. Right, and now we're seeing the information is coming up more and more, and now this man is ultimately being stripped of his rank, which is a big deal, right? Which is a big deal, means this damn devil is getting put back in his place, man. Calling himself a royal. No, this damn devil is not royal, man. Let's go back to this, right? I want to read a little bit of this, and then I want to grab because I looked it up, ChatGPT, like ultimately what does that mean, right? What does he lose, right, when he loses that title, or he loses, that dukeship, if that's what you want to call it, right? If that's a word, right? He loses a lot, right? It says Epstein-related allegations. It says in the latest fall from grace, the 65-year-old prince, who had already stepped down from public life in 2019 over his links to Epstein despite his denials for any wrongdoing. News that he will be ditching his title came in the wake of the release of excerpts of an upcoming posthumous memoir from Virginia Roberts Giff, however you say that word. It says, who has alleged she was trafficked by Epstein and had sex with Andrew when she was 17. The memoir is due to be published on Tuesday, right? And this was published 5 hours ago. So this next week, right? So within a few days, and who knows, right? This damn devil is, again, he's trying to, do everything he can to try to stop, that information from coming out. So they might either, postpone, and I put in quotations right with my fingers, man, postpone the release of the book or the memoir, or just deny its release altogether, because again, he's trying to stop this information from coming out, right? Which is why he's going so hard when it comes to this social media, right, and certain verbiage and whatnot that you're not allowed to say, his algorithm, so on and so forth, right, so that the information stops coming out. But see, you can't stop this word from coming out, because again, hey, the Lord is the one that's allowing for this revelation to happen of who this damn devil is and what he has been doing, right, over the decades, over the hundreds of years, over the thousands of years, man. The Lord is allowing this damn devil to be revealed, right? It says Jeff, that's how you say her name, died by suicide in April at the age of 41. In the memoir, she details alleged encounters with Prince Andrew, who she sued in 2021. Andrew denied her claims and said he didn't recall having met her, which was a fucking lie, right? A straight up lie, Now, this woman very well could be lying, but hey, let that memoir come out, man. There's going to be a whole bunch of details, that ultimately put him at the scene of the crime, right? As they say, right? Revealing that he definitely is lying, But I do want to grab this, right? I was looking up in ChatGPT. It says, when this is what I asked it, right? It says, when Prince Andrew gives up his rank and Duke of York, what does he lose when he gets stripped of his rank? It says, when Prince Andrew is stripped of his military rank and the title of Duke of York, it's not just a symbolic slap. It's a deep cut into both his status and privileges. Let's break down what that really means. It says military rank, right? If his military ranks are fully revoked, as has already largely happened, he loses the right to use his military titles, honorary command position, uniform privileges, public association with the armed forces. So he's no longer to basically be affiliated with the military, right? The UK or the British military, he's no longer affiliated with that, right? It says the dukedom, right? Duke of York. This one is triggered because a ducal title is granted by the monarch, not Parliament. If he were stripped of Duke of York, he would no longer be called His Royal Highness, the Duke of York. He'd likely revert to Prince Andrew, but even the prince and HRH style could remain restricted at the monarch's discretion. The title itself would revert to the crown, right? It says meaning King Charles would choose to reassign it, possibly many years later, to another royal, right? So that title can ultimately be given, right, to somebody else, right? It says financial and social impact. Here's a big one, right? It says while he already lost his public duties and royal funding, losing the dukedom would further isolate him, right? He would no longer have an official royal role of any kind. His security and housing arrangements as at places like the Royal Lodge or Windsor could be reviewed, since they were tied to his royal status, meaning he could very well get kicked out of, that palace, right? Not living in that luxury, royal type lifestyle anymore, right? It says his public identity as a senior royal is gone. He'd be a private citizen with no ceremonial duties, essentially living on personal wealth or family allowance, man, right? So he's just living off of, crumbs compared to what he was getting, right, when he had the title, because we know that these damn devils, man, they got something called the Queen's Vault, right? I think that might be over there in the UK where they got, if I'm not mistaken, right, we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars worth of gold and precious stones and all that, right? They have access to that. But see, he would no longer have access to that or any kind of, funds of that level, And let's say he doesn't have any kind of, major personal wealth, he would go back to being a regular ass person, man. Right? So ultimately, Yahweh Shem Shah is revealing all this information and stripping Esau of that title, right? Bringing him back down to that basis of man that he is, man. He ain't shit. Esau is not shit. It says, in short, losing rank and title strips him of military honor, royal identity, and symbolic authority. He'd still be the queen's son by blood, but in the eyes of the British state and military, he'd just be Mr. Andrew Windsor, right? So he'd just be a regular ass person, man. Right? He'd being stripped of his rank. And soon this is not just going to happen, right? It's not going to stop, right? Just this man, Prince Andrew. Soon this is going to happen to all of these damn devils, man. right? All the heathens, man, all these different, the power and rank that they got. Hey, the Lord's finna take all that shit away, man. All of it. You know, this is just the beginning, you know. But I want to grab this. I'm just going to grab a couple more precepts, man, and we'll get out of here. But this is Job 20 in the NLT, right? 20 and 4. It says, don't you realize that from the beginning of time, ever since people were first placed on the earth, the triumph of the wicked has been short-lived, right? Short-lived, man. For them to sit here and rule and to think that they're going to be some type of power for, you know, or have some kind of, you know, rank and royal lifestyle and live in luxury. Hey, that's all short-lived, right? We're coming up on the 250th year of America, right? Which on average, right, for the most part, these kingdoms that have ruled, right, they don't make it past or too far past 250 years, right? So we're coming up to the end of this rulership, which really, right, marks the end of Esau Edom as a whole, right? His rulership, man. It's not just America, right? It's, you know, Babylon. It's you know, the Edomites over there in the UK, the Edomites over there in Russia, the Edomites in the European Union. All these damn Edomites, right, are in power. Esau as a whole is in power, right? The small hats, you know, that are over there in Israel, right? All these Edomites, they're in rulership, right? Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? So they have power right now, you know, but soon they're going to be brought down, right? Soon they're going to be put in their proper order as the least of all the nations that the Lord Yahweh B'Shem El Shah created, you know. Like Job even said, right, that he wouldn't even, you know, set him with the, you know, the you know, his dogs, man. He wouldn't even set him with his dogs. He wouldn't even put him out there with his dogs. He would fuck around and defile the dogs, man. You know, because of how wicked this damn devil is, man. You know, but again, right, we're coming to the end of their rulership, man. Right? It said the triumph of the wicked has been short-lived, and the joy of the godless has been only temporary. Right? Temporary, right? As it says in Job 14:5, that he gave him bounds that it cannot pass. So Esau has been holding these titles, has been holding, you know, these ranks and been seen as, you know, this royal family, this royal, you know, group of people. But that's coming to an end, right? He's being revealed, right? And now being seen as the devil he is, man. You know? It says, though the pride of the godless reaches to the heavens and their heads touch the clouds, yet will they vanish forever. Because that's ultimately what's planned for this damn devil, man. Right? Once Yahweh Shai cracks the sky, hey, guess what? The elect are going to ultimately, you know, be delivered, right? That crowning ceremony, right? The marriage supper of the Lamb is going to take place, right? Yahweh Shai is going to be glorified, right? And the elect are going to be, you know, are going to be heirs to that glory, right? With Yahweh Shai. And then what's going to happen, right? That it's going to be hunting season, right? The elect are ultimately going to, you know, lay hands on these heathens, right? And put them in captivity. All the nation, all the heathens, man. Every last heathen nation is going to be put into captivity, right? Starting with Esau Edom. Right, as you read in Psalms 149, it says, right, it says that kings and that nobles shall be, you know, in fetters of iron, right, roughly paraphrasing, right? All these different leaders, right, all these different higher ups, even these so-called royals, right? Because they're not royal. They're not royalty. They're not true royalty. They ultimately, perceive themselves, right, to be royalty, but they're really not. You know. They're the most wicked, hateful forsakers of the Most High. We read in prayer of Azariah, right? The most lawless enemies, right? That's who these devils are, man. You know, it says, verse 7, it says, yet they will vanish forever, thrown away like their own dung. Those who knew them will ask, where are they? Right? Because after they serve for 1,000 years, hey, they're going to be eradicated. You read that in Psalms, the 52nd chapter, right? Job, the 18th chapter, near the end, right? The Lord is going to root them out of the land of the living. They're going to be destroyed forever, man. It says they will fade like a dream and not be found. They will vanish like a vision in the night. Those who once saw them will see them no more. Their families will never see them again. Right? Esau is going to be done. Esau is going to be vanished. Right? And this is something we constantly are praying for, man. Right? That Yahweh Shem Yahushua bring this damn devil down. Right? And remove him out of power. Right? Which again is soon to come. Right? We see it. Right? We're already starting to see that that all this information about who they are, who they truly are, right, is being revealed. Right? And the Lord is ultimately taking their rank away from them. As we see, right, Prince Andrews, right, because of his wickedness, because of his evil, right, he is no longer seen as a royal. He is no longer seen as the Duke, right? And now he's stripped of all his, amenities, if you will. And the ultimate goal, right, is not just to stop there. It's so that these damn devils will be destroyed as a whole, to where there's not going to be them anymore, man. That's the ultimate goal for these damn devils, man. Right? It's for them to be destroyed forever. The Wadi Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. But that's all I got, man. I just wanted to, touch on that right quick. Touch on that through the Spirit. Right? Just seen that and it was like, hey, call all Yahweh Shem Yahushua, him being stripped of his rank. Right? Which is a huge thing. Right now he ain't got no financial and social advantages. Again, he's still, as it said, right, he's still the queen's blood son, right? So he still has some type of, advantages, right? But for the most part, right, a lot of that is taken away, and soon it's going to be 100% taken away. He gonna be in slavery. He gonna be picking cotton, It's not just going to stop there, man, But that's all I got, man. Lord wills, that fine, Lord, straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, double honor to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.